DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you have expected to achieve is nowhere to be found and has not yet occurred. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of what we call personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves you to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. I like this mix. I think with this mix right here, you can pretty much achieve anything that you want to achieve. So what we do is put all this together into one framework, one philosophy, one approach, one mindset, one mentality, one way of life. And we have this daily masterclass. We got books, we got courses, we got programs, we got everything. But let's focus on this daily masterclass that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. And today's topic is nobody cares about you, nor do they care about your shit. And when I say shit, I'm referring to your problems, your projects, your books, your masterclass, your podcast, your YouTube channel, your course, whatever it is you're putting together. Nobody cares about that shit. Now, how do you get people to care? How do you get people to give a damn? How do you get people to pay attention when they really, by default, do not? That's what we're going to explain here today. The reason that this story is not story, but the reason that this topic is a topic is because of a story that I'm going to tell you right now of a guy who reached out to me who is an author, or at least whether he's already an author. I don't know if he already has any books, but I know he's in the process of writing a particular book. He reached out to me because he had engaged with me and some friends of mine in Clubhouse, or in this Clubhouse app. And you notice something about Clubhouse that even if you don't use the app, you notice how I'm getting a lot of content just from being in those rooms. I'm getting ideas that end up coming on to this masterclass. That's another reason why I like using Clubhouse, because just these live interactions with human beings show me a lot of things that I need to talk about here on this show. So here's another example. I was in this room with my friend Patricia. We were co-moderating a room. It may have been an open Q&A with several other moderators, but whatever, it doesn't matter. This gentleman came up on the stage to speak, and he was asking about a book that he is going to write. He sent me a direct message on Instagram about how he's looking for someone to help him get his book together and market and promote, obviously, and sell his book. And I told him that the thing that he reached out to me and said was that he needed someone to help him getting the book together. And and then he asked me if I was interested in doing some Clubhouse rooms together with him, this gentleman. I don't know who he was. I don't know what his significance is or was in the marketplace and why it would matter to me. So I declined to do a room with him. And I told him that if he was looking for my help, I could help him with the marketing of his book and help him put together a plan for how he's going to market and actually sell his book, which is something that I do. And if that's what he wanted, that's what I was offering. He reached back out to me and he said he wanted someone that to, quote, be as invested in my book as I am and participate in the upside, close quote. In other words, for those of you who can't read between the lines of what exactly he was saying there, he was looking for someone to help him without him paying that person directly. And he and that person, whoever was going to help him or took him up on his offer, they would share in the profits on the upside. So in other words, I would offer him my services at no charge, but then when his book makes money and $1 comes in, he gets 50 cents and I get 50 cents. Presumably, theoretically, that's what he was asking for. And I let him know, and I'll let you know when we get into these points, and I'm going to tell you up front, he will never find that person. Now, by the time you're hearing this, it's been weeks since he sent me that direct message. I'm going to tell you about how I responded back to this gentleman, because it'll get into our points here for you to understand the point that I'm making overall here. He's never going to find this person. I don't care how long he waits or how many people he propositions. Nobody's going to take him up on that offer. And why? Today I'm going to explain to you exactly why. Let's get right into it. Point number one. The topic once again today is nobody cares about you or your shit. Point number one, let's start with the 51-49 rule. If you don't know what the 51-49 rule is, go listen to episode 1282 of this very show, and I'll tell you exactly what it is right now. Nobody will ever care about your shit more than you do. 51-49 rule is assuming that we have 100% of the pie here, right? You, as the person who is the owner of the goal, owner of the project, owner of the outcome that you wish to achieve, you must always maintain, at minimum, a 51% ownership stake in your business and your goal and your plan and your project, assuming that we're talking whole numbers here, all right, no decimal points. at least a 51% ownership stake. Not 50%, not 49, not 36, 51%. What does that mean? 51% ownership means you are the majority owner, meaning no matter how many other people are involved, even if there's another person involved, as much as they possibly can be, the adding up everybody else involved put together is less than how much you are involved. Less ownership for them than for you. You always had the majority ownership, meaning if push comes to shove, and push will come to shove, everything will be on you to make the final decision. You must make the executive decision. You are the owner of the outcome, whether there is an outcome or there's not an outcome. You are the majority owner. In anything that you're doing, you must always have at least 51% ownership. If you are not willing to do that, then you will never find other people who want to get on board with you. And this is what I had to explain to this gentleman. If you are not willing to take the majority ownership, nobody else is going to do it because it's your shit. Why would anybody care about your work just as much as you do? Nobody cares about your work just as much as you do. Even if they are working for you, even if they're working with you, even if they are a true believer in what you do, they're not going to care about your shit as much as you. I have people who work for me right there, people who are editing the audio to this show right now. I don't expect them to care about the Work on Your Game show more than Dre cares about the Work on Your Game show. It's my fucking show. I need to care about it more than anybody. I don't care who it is. I don't care if they're my marketing person, a personal assistant, a person who's related to me, a blood relative, and anybody. It doesn't matter what their role is. If it has my name on it and my brand on it, I need to care about it and take ownership of it more than anybody else. Any of you who's an entrepreneur, any of you who is a business owner, any of you who has started anything, I don't care how many people you have working for you, how much or how little work you do on a day-to-day basis in your business, the buck stops and it starts with you at all times as long as your name is on the door. As long as that's your brand, as long as you own it, you must make the executive decisions. Now, you can delegate those decisions to other people, and if they mess up, you got to make the decision as to what to do about it because it always will come back to you at some point. So let me tell you what my reply was to this gentleman who asked me or said to me he wants someone to be as invested in his project as he is, which was a ridiculous question. Before that, he had actually said, to give you some more context before I tell you exactly what I said, and I'm going to quote myself, he told me that he had hired some coaches in the past, because I made it clear to him, like, listen, I can help you market your book, but that is a paid service. That's what I do. This is, you're asking me for my expertise, my intellectual property, which is sharing with you how you're going to be able to do this. You're going to pay me for that. And he said, well, I've had some experiences in the past with coaches where I got burned and they didn't deliver what I wanted them to deliver. And there are many people listening to this right now who are thinking to themselves, you know what, Dre might be a good coach for me, but, you know, I've had bad experiences with coaches, or I'm not sure, you know, if I hire this coach, maybe they're not going to do what I need them to do, or maybe not me, Dre, but you, the prospect, you're thinking, you know what, maybe I might not follow through with what Dre is telling me to do or what Dre is coaching me on. So you're hesitating and, you know, you're pump faking on making a decision to actually go through and hire a coach or move forward with hiring anybody, whether it's me or somebody else. I completely understand that. There are some shitty coaches out there. There are some people out there who will burn you for your bucks. I completely understand that. Taking all that into account, let me tell you what I said back to this gentleman who told me he was looking for someone to be just as invested in his book as he was. Again, a ridiculous question. Quote, this is me speaking now. Mr. X, we're not going to say his name. Ownership in your product is your job. I call it the 51-49 rule. If you are not willing to take charge of your vision, you need to handle that. No one will own your work equally with you because no one will ever care as much as you will. Your name will be on the cover of the book, not anyone else's. I understand you have had poor experiences with other coaches. Who chose those bad coaches? What I tell any client of mine in such a case is to own the decision-making process that led to such an outcome. If you want my help, you will pay me. I do not join teams, and I have invested enough in myself to say what I'm saying to you. You need to do the same for yourself, however that needs to happen, which again is your job. If that's not for you, I'm sure you will find the person who is right for you. Close quote. Now, all that being said, I don't think I really need to explain anything that I said here. One thing that I do want to, one thing let me go back over, is him talking about how he hired some coaches in the past who had burned him. Therefore, that was his reasoning for why he didn't feel he wanted to he didn't want to make a money outlay towards another coach because I guess he's trigger shy about that happening to him again. And what I said to him, if you listen to what I just said, quoted myself, listen, first of all, you chose that bad coach. So if you chose a coach who burned you, well, who's the person who made that decision? All right, you made that bad decision. So it's not, first of all, you need to own the fact that you made that bad decision. It wasn't me who made the bad decision. So you don't make the next person pay for the mistake of the previous person. It's kind of like if you were in a relationship with a girl and she cheated on you, you don't go to the next girl and say, well, I don't know if I could really love you in this relationship because the last girl cheated on me. Well, the new chick is like, well, what the fuck does what that bitch did got to do with what I'm doing? I ain't do any of that. Don't put that baggage on me. It's the same thing in a female thinking the same thing with a male. Like what the last guy did ain't got shit to do with what I'm doing. You can't put that baggage on the next person. So that's the first thing I was explaining to him. Like, hey, the last coach burned you. Well, you're the one who chose that coach. So what bad decision did you make that led to that bad outcome? Even if the coach was completely at fault, what did you not notice that you should have noticed that would have tipped you off to that being a bad coach before you got in bed with that individual? Secondly, I have nothing to do with what that last coach did. So if they burned you, because you gave them the money up front and they didn't deliver, hey, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm really not. But if you want to hire me, then listen, you're dealing with me. I ain't got shit to do with that, and you will pay me. And if you don't want to pay because you got this bad situation that happened in your past, hey, that's your business. But now we're going to move on because I got to move on to people who do want to pay, because that's my business. My business is not holding your hand and convincing you to do something that you don't want to do. My business is doing what I got to do, which is working with people who are ready to go to work. If you're not ready to go to work, hey, you need to figure that out for yourself. But listen, I gave him enough coaching in this one DM response than he'd probably get from any other coach out there. So hopefully it helped this individual. And here's to his book becoming a New York Times bestseller. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is nobody cares about you or your shit. Number 2. So the question now is, all that being said, this background given, Dre, how do I get other people involved in my projects? Being that, let's say that you have decided, okay, Dre, I got it. The 51-49 rule, I will be the majority owner in what I'm doing. Now, I want other people to be involved, but being that I'm the majority owner of it, and nobody really cares about my shit, as you say here, Dre, how do I get other people to really give a damn? How do I get any other people to give attention or effort or to even give energy to what I'm doing, being that I'm the majority owner and they're not? Well, here's the answer. People buy into your energy. People buy into your approach. They buy into your posture. They buy into your confidence. They buy into your discipline. They buy into your being. They're not necessarily buying into what you're doing. Most of the time, if you ask people, why do you like this person? What do you enjoy about this person? People will say, well, I like that Dre keeps it real. I like that Dre, just tells it straight. I like that Dre just gets right to the point. I like that Dre that gives 1, 2, 3, 4 points every episode of the show. I like that Dre that just talks about things as they are, and it reminds me and it tells me new stuff, and it's eye-opening, and it's helping me stay mentally tough every single day. You hear all those answers, people are talking about what I'm doing. If you read the reviews of this show on Apple Podcasts, you notice that almost every review, at least the positive ones, that people are talking about what I'm doing, right? But the thing that you are really buying into is not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is how you justify why you enjoy the show. What you really enjoy is who I'm being as a person. You enjoy that I'm being a person that you can tell that I'm talking to you the way that I normally talk. I'm telling you things as they are. I'm not sugarcoating things. I'm not dancing around topics. I'm not mincing words. I'm not trying to say things in a soft way so as not to offend anybody. That's the thing that you buy into. And then when you're asked, why do you do it? Why do you like it? You articulate it in a way that you're talking about the doing. And this is what most people understand are the actions, because we can see actions. You can lay an action out and you can look at it on a piece of paper and say, see, there's him doing that thing again. But it's the being that people actually buy into. How do I know this? Because we know that a huge percentage of communication, anywhere from 70% to 99%, is non-verbal. That is what we really buy into with other people. When you decide whether you trust or don't trust another person, whether you're interested or not interested in a male or female when you go out to the bar, or whether they're interested or not interested in you, is not based on what they say, right? It's based on the way that they look at you, the look in their eye, whether they smile a little bit or not when they make eye contact with you. You discern all of these things in a split second before any words are ever exchanged, or maybe no words ever get exchanged, but you can tell whether they were interested or they weren't. Maybe you're out with your significant other and you see someone of the opposite sex looking at you from across the room. Now, you're not going to go talk to them because you're already with your significant other, but you can tell that they're interested by the way they're looking at you, and you and that person never ever speak ever in life. How do you know? Not by what they did, but by who they were being, the energy that they were projecting. The energy was projected through the things that they did, the smile, the look, the wave, the whatever it happened to be. You understand what that is? The being shows itself through the doing. And this is where, when I talk about why you want to get my book, The Mirror of Motivation, Self-Guide to Self-Discipline. This is what that book is all about, the frameworks of the being. When you get the being down, the doing parts naturally flow through you. But until you get the being down, the doing part will always be a struggle. You'll always find yourself doing all this stuff, but it's not getting the results that you want because you haven't connected the being to it. You have not activated it. It's like you got the thing. It's like you got your car turned on, but there's no gas in it. Or there's no gas pedal. There's no gas pedal in the car, so the car's not moving, even though the engine is running. That's the same thing that happens with so many people out here. People buy into your energy. People will follow you and join your stuff if you have the energy to make them feel that it's worth it. That's what they're buying into. They're not buying into your book. You're not buying the book, The Mirror of Motivation. You're buying my energy around the book when I talk about it and tell you why to get it. That's what you're really buying. Keep in mind that no one, again, will ever have as much energy about your work as you do. And if they do, it won't last for long if you don't pick it up, if you don't pick up the baton from them and take it further. This is how it should be, by the way. All right, this is not a negative thing about life that nobody cares about your shit. This is the way that it is. All right, nobody cares about your shit. You don't care about other people's shit more than they care. Now, you might care a lot. They got to care just a little bit more than you to keep you caring as much as you do. And if they stop caring, you will stop caring. Again, give me an example of when this didn't happen. You can't. There isn't any. And this is how it should be in life because it's your work after all. If you're the one writing the book, all right, even your editor, your press manager, your personal assistant, your wife, your dog, nobody will care, your grandma, nobody will care about that book more than you. It's your book. All right, everybody else got their own life to live. Why would anybody care more than you? I mean, can you give me any reasons why somebody should care about your stuff more than you care about it? There is no logical reason that makes sense, and that's why nobody does it. No logical person does it. Remember this 51-49 rule. This confidence and belief is, in itself, the nonverbal communication that people buy from you. People buy you based on your nonverbals. They do not buy you based on what you say, even though there's a whole industry called copywriting that is all about making sure we have the right words in the right places on a sales page, in a video, in an advertisement. Let's use different ads. Let's A/B test and split test this, and let's use this right here, and let's give this free giveaway and this 5-day challenge to get people. We always focus so much on the doing. When you ask someone, how can I make more money? They give you all these things that you can do. The thing is, the being is what allows all the doing to work. Until you get the being down, you can take every course and sign up for everybody's free giveaway and get all the data and information and processes that you want. You will not get the results that you are truly looking for until you master the being. And if you lose touch with that being, you could be getting results. If you lose touch with the being, your results will go down just as easily. This being thing is an ongoing thing. It's not a one-time thing. It's not like going to high school, you graduate, you don't have to go back. It's something that you do over and over again. It must be consistently renewed. The reason why people are able to recreate their success over and over again through the doing part, or what seems to be the doing part, is because their being stays in momentum. And one way that it's easy to keep your being in momentum is when you're getting success. When you're doing is creating success. But when it's not, what do you do then? Or when it's not creating the kind of success that you want, what do you do then? That's when you go find somebody like myself. But you got to understand this is the value of it. You have to understand this is where it begins. Until you understand that, you're going to be focusing on doing the wrong things. Notice the doing the wrong things that are not going to produce the result that you want. And no matter what you do, you will not get the result. You can do as much as you want. You can try as hard as you want, as long as you want. And let me remind you of something that you should remind yourself of as much as possible. You're on the clock. So you don't have forever to keep this trial and error process up. At some point, you got to do something different. We talked about this a few days ago. Qualitative versus quantitative change. All that being said, let's move on to point number 3. Topic once again today is nobody cares about you or your shit, at least not as much as you do. Is all this risky? That's a question. I mean, you taking majority ownership of what you're doing, especially when you're doing something that is not proven. You're doing something that you're just starting. You are a pioneer just going out into the world, and you're going to put yourself out there through this book or this course or this program or this brand or this whatever it is that you're doing, this brand new thing that nobody knows about. And now you got to try to have enough belief in yourself and in what you're doing to get other people to believe in it. And it's not even proven yet. Is this a risk that you are undertaking? The answer is hell yes, it's a risk. Of course it's a risk. Which is why most people don't do it. This is why most people fail at it. This is why most of the people who are thinking along the lines of person X who sent me this DM asking about somebody being just as invested in his project as he is. This is why most of the people who have that same thought pattern, because he's not the only one. The reason I made this episode based on that is not because it is one isolated incident that will never see itself happen again in life. Is because many people have this exact same problem. Maybe it's not around writing books. Maybe it's not the exact same language, but it's the exact same problem. The reason why most people don't get things done, the reason why this guy and most people like him will never write that book, maybe literally, maybe metaphorically speaking, is because they are not willing to take the risk of being the one who owns its success or its failure. And it's also the reason why many people who do decide to take on this risk, who do take on the risk and the possibility of failure, this is why they get all the rewards. Because they're willing to take on and own that risk, and then they're able to make it happen against all odds. I told you, what determines whether or not you are an idiot for taking on risk or a genius for taking on risk is determined by the ending of the story. If you end up winning, you're a genius. If you end up losing, you're an idiot. This is the way that it works. Again, most people won't tell you it that way. They'll use a whole bunch of words to tell you a softened way of giving you this answer, but this is the direct, clear answer. Whether you are a genius or an idiot for trying something that seemed risky is 100% determined by whether or not you succeed. That's it. People who don't take their dreams and ideas, people who don't take these risks, rather, they take their dreams and their ideas to the grave, the most valuable real estate on earth. I talked about this in episode number 400, and I believe it's 482, but let me make sure. 468 rather. The most valuable real estate on earth is the graveyard. Why? Because people take all their dreams, hopes, goals, and instead of actually getting them out into the world because they're afraid to take on a risk, they die with them, and all that value goes with them to the graveyard. So any of you want to purchase some really valuable real estate, you need to purchase a cemetery, because that's the most valuable real estate there is. All right, not an empty lot, not a parking lot building, not a mall, not a duplex, not a multifamily home. No, you need to go buy a graveyard, because that's where all the value's at. Metaphorically speaking, that is. Now, maybe you actually could buy it, but I don't know. I heard there's ghosts and all that stuff. Different conversation for a different day. I want you to understand something. People who don't want to take on that risk, they have a built-in excuse of not having help. Well, nobody helped me out. Well, of course nobody helped you out, because you didn't believe in yourself enough to get anyone else to care. That's why nobody helped you out. So you're 100% right. That's why you didn't get any help, because you didn't care, they didn't care. Understand that help, everyone, is a privilege. It is not a right. It is not your birthright for somebody to help you out. It is not your birthright to somebody to give a damn about your project. It's not your birthright for someone to be as invested in your shit as you are in your shit. All those are privileges. If you happen to have that happen in your life, consider yourself lucky. That is not something that you deserve. It's not something you have earned. It's something that you can earn. Let me back up on that. Something that you can earn, but it's not something that you are owed. It's a better way of saying it. If you follow enough media, this could be social media, traditional media, any kind of media, the media will have you thinking that it is owed to you for somebody to help you out, because you see all these other people who look like they're winning, and they have all these other people helping them out, all these people supporting them, all these people caring about them. And when you understand that they're just telling you the stories of the winners. They're not telling you the stories of all the people who lost, who they didn't want to take on the risk, therefore they failed, because nobody wanted to help them out. Nobody wanted to be involved. It's a dangerous trend, because the rug gets pulled out from under you when you think you're supposed to be getting something that is not owed to you, and you're wondering what the hell happened. Well, I'm telling you preemptively right now today why it happened. Take this episode as a warning. You are owed nothing. Recapping today's class, which is nobody cares about you or your shit. Somebody reached out to me telling me they wanted me to be just as invested in their book as they are, the author, and participate in the upside. And I said, hell no. You will never find that person, because nobody cares about your book. Listen, even if you hire me as a coach, I care about your book, because I'm going to make sure I deliver to you what you signed up to be delivered. But I don't care as much about your book as you do. It's your book. There's no way I can care as much as you. All right. That leads us to our points. Number one, the 51-49 rule. No one will ever care about your shit more than you do. If you are not willing to take majority ownership of your work, nobody else will. It is your shit. You must own it. If you have made mistakes in the past, have been burned in the past by taking ownership of your work, hey, I understand, once bitten, twice shy. But if you're not willing to take ownership again the next time, as if that previous time didn't happen, this is a measure of mental toughness, everybody. If you don't have that mental toughness to do that, then you should resign yourself to failure, because you will never get anyone else to buy into you as much as you buy into you, no matter what you have done or not done in the past. Point number two, how do you get other people involved? Remember that they buy into your energy. People buy into your being, and they explain it and justify it by talking about your doing. Let me say that again. People buy into your being. They explain it and justify it by talking about your doing. People do not buy into what you do. They buy into who you are. Who you are shows through in what you do. When people are buying into what you do, it is because the things that you are doing are flowing naturally through who you are being. When the things you're doing are not hitting, it's because who you are being is not naturally flowing through it. That's why it is not connecting with the right people. And it doesn't mean it has to connect with a lot of people. It just means it has to connect with the right people. This is the 51-49 rule in effect. You have to own it before anybody else will even care. This confidence and belief is the nonverbal communication that people buy from you. So when you hear somebody say that 85% of communication is nonverbal, I just articulated exactly what that means. Point number 3, is this risky? Of course it's risky, which is why most people don't do it, and is why the people who are willing to do it, they get all the rewards, and the people who don't have a built-in excuse that nobody helped them out, nobody was paying attention. Of course nobody helped you. Of course nobody's paying attention because you didn't help yourself and you weren't paying enough attention to get other people to give a damn about what you had going on. Take this as a warning. You are owed nothing. Everything that I've said here today, I want you to tell me what was the most valuable piece, the most insightful piece, the thing that really most woke you up and is most going to stick with you. Send me a text message. My number is 305-384-6894. Once again, 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre all day.